Well, sine die. It's the end of the 2025 Virginia General Assembly session. Bills have been passed and the budget has been agreed upon. But what will happen next? March 24th is the time that the governor has the last day to act. And what laws are in effect now? It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Eric Claville. You're joining us for the sine die session of our 2025 General Assembly radio show. Welcome back to Stay the Water. I'm your host, Eric Claville. We hope that you're out in the community being safe and sound. We experienced record snowfall here in Hampton Roads and also all across the South. Itself, of course, these are different times, and we haven't seen this type of record snowfall, I think they said, in over a decade or so. But during this time of the year, this is definitely uncommon for Hampton Roads, but neither here nor there. We hope that you enjoyed the snow days, enjoyed the beautiful white stuff, and we hope that in addition to that, you are being safe and that you are well also. Once again, we'd like to thank you for your support in listening to us and supporting us throughout the years as you join us and listen to us as we broadcast from the campus of the Norfolk State University, home of the Spartan Nation, from none other than WNSB, Hot 91, the soul of VA. Today we are broadcasting our sine die, which is the end of our General Assembly session here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is when the legislature adjourned for this General Assembly. Now, when we talk about adjourn, they adjourned for the regular session. But, of course, we do have a couple of very significant dates that are very important in this General Assembly session, every year. And we're going to highlight what those dates are, but also we're going to take a look at some of the laws that have been in effect that we're voting up on. We had over 3,100 bills that were introduced, and the legislature passed just a little bit under a half of them. But again, the process for policy, for laws that dictate our lives is very intricate, but is also very deliberate. I know we get the narrative out there that government doesn't work, government is slow, but government does work because it works for the people and the greater good. And it's deliberate for a reason, because when you're passing laws, when you're passing policies and regulations that the country and corporations and everyone have to abide by, you got to be deliberate. You have to be methodical about it. You just can't make decisions and say things haphazardly without doing the research, without having the data, without having vigorous debate, without being able to agree and disagree and being able to agree to disagree. That's democracy in works. This is not what we're getting from our federal level right now. We see a lot of mixed messages coming from the White House being passed down to our various agencies, and persons wondering, is the government a good place for us? Well, I'm here to tell you, as a political science major, as someone who teaches the law, who lives the law, someone who has dedicated his life to it, his life's work, my career, government does work. Our democracy does work. And it's a great process to be a part of it and to see it. Let me say that we've got great legislators on both sides of the aisle that are in Richmond here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, that are advocating for us, that are fighting for us, and really being deliberate about the laws and the rules and the policies and the regulations and the statutes that will dictate our lives. So I want to thank all of our legislators for the work that they've done on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth, the great people of the Commonwealth, and the citizens that are here, for us to be able to have a robust economy, robust culture, appreciation for everyone, and also to show that government does work. So once again, I want to thank the legislators again for the work that they've done. We see that this past Saturday, just yesterday, they have left Richmond and gone back to their respective homes. They live up there, we live up there, lobbying and back and forth during the months of January and February. And it's a place, you get to see old friends and have good times and the like. But the work of the people is what is at the center of the legislative session. Now, of course, we know, again, this past Saturday, February 22nd, the session adjourned, sine die. And on Monday, March 24th, is the last day for the governor's actions on legislation. Now, within our government, we have checks and balances. We have not just one branch can do anything they want, but checks and balances. And with that checks and balances, we find where our governor can, he himself can actually sign law into legislation, or he can veto it. And with that, that's a check on the General Assembly, on the session itself. And then, but on Wednesday, April 2nd, after the governor has his action, just about 8 days later, on April 2nd, we can have a reconvene session where the General Assembly goes into a session to take action on the action of the governor. And with that, that's an opportunity for the General Assembly to basically vote to override certain legislation that was signed into law by the governor. But whatever the case may be, on July 1st, the effective date of enacted legislation starts. And that's what we call a new fiscal year as well. And there are some laws that go into effect on January 1st also. So there's a lot that goes into the making of laws, starting from July 15th of every year, where we have pre-filing of bills, all the way to when the governor releases his budget in December, all the way to when the legislative session begins, the first Wednesday of January, and then where it actually ends as well, and then July 1st. So as you can see, it's a process that's very deliberate. It's a process that takes its time. It's a process that's very considerate of constituents and the people of the Commonwealth, and as opposed to, again, making decisions unilaterally and saying that everybody should live by this. This is not what we're getting from the federal level, but we are getting this process, the process of democracy, really the birthplace of democracy, the Commonwealth of Virginia, here in the Commonwealth. So once again, you could take solace in knowing that our legislature is doing their job. They're on the job. So I want to take a look now, first, not just at bills that have passed, but I want to take a look now at laws that have gone into effect as of January 1st. So we're going to take a step back, and then we're going to move forward and look at what laws have already passed. So several new laws went into effect on January 1st from the last session, and that was the increase in minimum wage. So increased minimum wage from $12 to $12.41 per hour. Now, of course, this legislation went into effect because of what happened in the previous legislative sessions. Of course, under Governor Northam and the Democratic-led legislature, minimum wage was increased. Now, of course, this is more than $5 above the federal minimum wage of $7.25 at that particular time in December of 2024. Again, higher wages means more buying power for citizens of the Commonwealth. There are a lot of homes that are led by single parents, and there are a lot of people that's out there just trying to make it, from our college students to just people who are newly graduated or individuals that have trades, and people that are out there working extra jobs just to make ends meet. An extra dollar means a lot. And when you multiply that times hours, times months, and times whatever the year is, that can mean the difference between staying warm in the wintertime, staying fed healthy. That means the difference between having a roof over your head, keeping your insurance current. It means a lot. So again, being able to buy more and also to do more actually helps. Car insurance, the minimum coverage increase to $50,000 per person, $100,000 per accident, and $25,000 for property damage. This is very significant because in the event that you have an accident, we had a lot of accidents during this time period where the weather turned. This helps, those who are injured, those that may have property damage, and of course, this helps to keep pace with inflation. So it helps us across the board here in the Commonwealth as well. So again, making sure that you, the citizen, are not hurting or damaged more than it would take to get you back to where you were before. Death benefits for public safety personnel. January 1st of this year, it increased from $25,000 to $75,000 for deaths related to occupational cancers, respiratory disease, hypertension, or heart disease. Again, for public safety personnel, the death benefit increased from $25,000 to $75,000. And also, when we take a look at economic laws that went into effect, child labor fines, increased penalties for child labor crimes that result in death or serious injuries. Again, penalties for child labor crimes that result in death or serious injury. Again, protecting our workers, ensuring that the public is safe, and also ensuring that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck for the labor that you put forth, the days that you have to work. That's what the legislature did on last year and the laws that are in effect now. But I want to take a look now at our policies that went into effect, some of the laws as it relates to health. We know that cancer is on the rise, and there's there's research being done to explain why cancer is on the rise. Of course, we know some things, but not all. But we do know what the legislature did last year is that health insurers are required now to cover examinations and lab tests, including follow-up colonoscopies for colorectal cancer screenings. This is significant because the amount of cancers that are increasing in this particular area, this type of cancer, but not just this type of cancer, but there are people who are younger and younger getting this type of cancer or getting cancers in general. So being able to pay for those screenings to help catch it early is very important. And it's not just important just for the health of older Americans, but also younger Americans, so we can have a stronger and more robust base of our society. In addition to that, when we take a look at retirement, Retire Path Virginia requires business with 25 or more employees to participate in a retirement savings program. So that means now that if you're working, you're not just your minimum wage or the amount that you're getting paid now increases, but that's also, which is your now, but also your future. Our savings program for retirement, it helps for that. So again, new laws that went into effect that includes public database of utility work near roads, higher pay for court-appointed counsel, and no more one-candidate primary elections. These are extremely important because when you talk about elections, when you talk about being able to be represented in your community, these laws matter. These laws matter. The way that we're elected, your officials are elected, the way in which your vote counts, the way that your labor counts, your money, these things are very important. So hats off to the legislature. Those are some of the laws. I wanted to talk about those that went into effect in 2025 for this year. Now, I want to take a look now at bills that actually passed this legislative session. Now, according to WRIC, ABC's number 8 News, located in the Commonwealth, the 2025 Virginia General Assembly, which came to an end, had nearly 3,100 bills that were introduced this year, but lawmakers only passed just over half of those. Now, these bills have been approved, that were passed, and they're sent to Governor Youngkin's desk for signing. So, once again, the legislature, bills are introduced. Once they're introduced, they go through a period of debate. They're introduced in committees, subcommittees. They go to another committee. Then they go to the floor for debate and voted on in each various house. Then those bills cross over to each other's house, and then they vote on those bills. It goes from a committee again, and then the overall committee, then to the floor. And then the bills are put together. They come together to be one bill, and then that set of bills go to the governor's desk for signing. Once again, a very deliberate, very methodical, very thought-out process moving forward as it relates to creating laws and policy, public policy for the citizens. It's meant to be that way. So again, I want us not to buy into the narrative that government doesn't work, that it's slow. It's deliberate and methodical for a reason. I want to take a look at several bills here. Let's take a look at one bill that passed. It's HB 2404, according to WHRC. It requires owners of waterworks to report negligence at water plants to the Virginia Department of Health within 24 hours of learning about it. Now, this has already been incorporated by Health and Human Services, HHS, and hits close to home for Richmond area residents following the January water crisis. Now, we all know about the water crisis, or maybe we don't, in Richmond, where there was a fail of a certain piece within Richmond's water system. And with that, the first storm of 2025, when it hit on January 5th, the weather caused widespread power outages. And one of them hit Richmond City Reservoir System, resulting in a malfunction the next day, Monday, January 6th. That malfunction had a ripple effect across localities. Now, what happened? It left residents across the city of Richmond and multiple surrounding counties with little to no water. Counties of Henrico, Hanover, Goochland, all were impacted based upon, to a certain degree, by the ongoing water crisis. Now, because of this, they had immediate impact on for 6 days. Everybody had to boil water. That was lifted 6 days later. Questions were raised in the aftermath about how it happened, and investigations were launched, and inspections, and so forth. 2022 inspection conducted by the EPA included a variety of troubling findings across the city's water systems. And in addition to that, leaders, they worked to restore water to many people, and they did the best that they could, every day to cope. But because of that, we have legislation that was passed. Legislation passed in order to direct that waterworks report this to immediately, within 24 hours, again, to help people, you the citizens, make sure that you have healthy, safe water to drink. So that's a major public safety bill that was passed. It was a no-brainer, based upon the EPA inspection and also based upon what the weather system did. Sometimes it does take, a crisis to see where we stand. And even though it was a very unfortunate event because the legislative session was also delayed. We started that Wednesday, but then after that, we had to basically not start. We had to postpone the work of the legislature until that Monday. So people were in the hotels, a little water, no water. It was something. But because of that crisis, we found out how well we react. We found out how robust our systems are. And we were able to maneuver. We were able to make changes and implement changes for permanent changes in the future. And that's what government does. Government is very methodical and deliberate in that process. Of course, it's going to take a little time, but it takes time so that we can get it right in the long run, not just the short run. So hats off to the legislatures for passing that particular bill. Now, I want to take another look at a bill. This is Black History Month. And of course, we know that not just DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is under attack from the federal level across the country, from federal agencies all the way down to various corporations, trickling down to our institutions of higher education. We see that happening, not just universities, but also K through 12. But here in the Commonwealth, another bill passed, which is HB 1699. It takes away tax exemptions from Confederate-related organizations. Now, this particular bill itself was very controversial because of the Confederate history that we have here in the Commonwealth. Not just the Confederate history we have here, but keep in mind that we had a lot of activity around the Confederacy during the first term of current President Trump. And now we see a movement, a shift from Black Lives Matter toward now more of eliminating the works of diversity, equity, inclusion, and Black Lives Matter itself. But in this tax exemption bill that was passed, introduced by Alex Askew, chief patron, who is the delegate that represents Virginia Beach, it eliminates exemption from state recordation taxes for Virginia Division of United Daughters of the Confederacy, and eliminates tax exemption designation for real and personal property owned by Virginia Division of United Daughters of the Confederacy, the General Organization of the United Daughters of the Confederacy, and the Confederate Memorial Literacy Society, the Stonewall Jackson Memorial Incorporated, and the Virginia Division, Sons of Confederate Veterans, and the J.E.B. Stewart Birthplace Preservation Trust Incorporated. Now, again, it's awaiting governor's actions. So this bill passed. But the question becomes, what happens when this goes to the governor? He's got till 11:59 p.m., March 24, 2025, to see what he does. So this is going to be very important across the board, especially in this environment that we are in. Let's take a look at a bill inspired by a 15-year-old, Javion Taylor, who passed away. Now, again, he's the Hopewell football player, according to WRC, who died due to a medical emergency during practice in August. The bill, House Bill 1663, provides guidance for public schools on extreme heat and protections for student athletes. Now, we do know that, we do experience extreme heat. We experience now extreme cold here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we know that across the South and other areas where our kids are practicing, they're still growing, they're adolescents, but their bodies are changing. But unfortunately, this young man passed away in that particular situation in which he was in the extreme heat. So now, to help protect our kids, our sons, our daughters, our nieces, our nephews, our cousins, our grandsons, granddaughters, there's guidance now, according to HB 1663, in order to ensure that there is not another Javion Taylor, but ensure that our children live healthy lives in the activities that they are participating in. This is introduced by Delegate Mike Jones, who's the chief patron, also a very good Kappa brother in the city of Richmond, former city councilman as well. Thank you, Delegate Jones, for that. Another bill that was passed that lawmakers said yes to, and they said no to many others, but HB 2368, which could have capped charge tolls at $200 a month. But unfortunately, that bill failed. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you travel Hampton Roads, if you travel through the various tunnels and so forth, and you're traveling across up and down 95, and sometimes that comes the parking lot, you want to get on the expressway, right? You got to go through a tunnel bridge. You got to sometimes go through a toll. That gets expensive, and that becomes taxing. It's another tax. It's another bill, onto a household. So in order for us to make sure that we keep as much money as our pockets as possible and not be impacted, this bill was introduced. But unfortunately, that bill did not make it actually fail. This bill was introduced by one of our distinguished alums and star delegates in the General Assembly, none other than Candy Mundy King, chief patron, who led this particular bill, but unfortunately it did fail. Now, the bill would have authorized the free use of all toll bridges, toll roads, and all toll facilities in the Commonwealth for drivers who are recipients of temporary assistance for needy families or TANF benefits as well. Now, this bill would have prohibited misusing, sharing, or transferring an electronic toll collection device or purpose. Also, again, it would have capped the amount of tolls, $200 per month, for residents of the Commonwealth via electronic toll driver devices, toll bridges, ferries, tunnels, and roads in the Commonwealth. Well, look, Delegate King, make sure you bring that bill back, because we definitely all need some type of relief on these tolls. In addition to that, another bill that fell was HB 1673, which would have allowed law enforcement to put monitors themselves at pedestrian crossings and stop signs near school and work zones, recording violations. So that bill fell. But again, as we all drive, make sure you're safe. Make sure you are definitely acknowledging the warning signs that are there. Make sure that you are taking safety precautions across the board. Another bill that fell was HB 1818, which would have provided grants to public schools for firearm detection software. The goal was actually to enhance school safety. Now, we all know, and unfortunately we see where school shootings have been on the rise, and it's unfortunate that it's something that we have to deal with. But Delegate Reed introduced this as chief patron to make sure that our schools would have been a bit safer. So with this particular software program, it would have established the School Safety Firearm Detection Software Pilot Program, which would have been administered as part of the Public School Security Equipment Grant Act of 2013 for the purpose of enhancing security and firearm violence prevention measures in public schools in the Commonwealth. So this would have been through a grant that would have been provided to schools, once again, as a pilot program to help with the detection of guns in our schools. So once again, the process works. So we see a lot of bills that they said yes to, but some that they did not. So every bill's not going to make it. But one thing we can rest assured is that the process of your voice can be heard. Your voice can be heard, and it will be heard if you go through the process that we have that is very, very methodical, very deliberate, and once again, just a process that has the people, in mind. So these are the bills that pass, but these are not the only bills. That doesn't mean that the bills will go into law because the governor has to sign them. So once again, the final action for the governor, the legislative session is done. Sine die. It has ended. Now they go to the governor's desk. The governor's desk to be signed or to be vetoed or no action on them, and they automatically become law. That's another way that laws can become law, right? Well, bills can become law. So with that, we'll find out what happens on March 25th, because the last day for the governor to act is by 11:59 p.m. March 24th. And with that, we'll find out what laws actually come into play and if there'll be a reconvene session. If the legislature says there are some things they really wanted, but the governor said no, they'll be back on April 2nd to vote action against what the governor has or has not done. But whatever the case may be, July 1st starts a new set of laws that go into effect, and also it starts election season. So we'll discuss that, and we'll talk about the June primary for the election that's coming up, because there's an important election every year, but this year feels a little different. That it feels like this is probably one of the most important, if not the most important election in the Commonwealth. But we'll talk about that in our election series. But once again, I'd like to thank you for joining us, as you always do, for Stay the Water, where we bring movers, shakers, and policymakers to you to discuss issues important to the community. Until next time, be good, be great, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Carrie Washington, and you're listening to State of the Water with award-winning host Dr. Eric Claville.